Presiding Bishop Mark Hansen says these challenging times find us at the intersection of fear and hope. The global recession and its devastating consequences have left many of us shaken. In the U.S., Detroit has become a heartbreaking symbol of this crisis, its neighborhoods scarred with boarded-up windows and for sale signs. Yet God's work continues, and we see that evidence in the many stories of hope. Beginning here in Detroit, at Immanuel Lutheran Church, we will hear from persons whose lives have been changed because of the ministries of the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America. God's work, our hands, is a promise of what Lutherans can do together. Join me now as we hear stories of hope and promise in the midst of fear, and of what difference God is making in these challenging times. I visited Immanuel Lutheran in July. An ELCA renewing grant supports the congregation's ministry of service and hope in the community.
Immanuel Lutheran Church is truly a beacon in this community. Well, the food pantry feeds people on Tuesdays. Sometimes this is the only good meal that a person gets the whole week.
Our food pantry opened in June of 2004. And at that particular time, there was a small room downstairs. Honestly, it's like a cupboard. Our numbers have tripled since then. Last year, we had 3,914, and so far this year, we have over 2,800 people that we've fed already. Just the church being here has really been a big help.
Immanuel offers a safe and enriching place for neighborhood children.
Children in this community, they really need a place to go other than just in the streets. They need some structured playtime, some structured learning, and they're getting that here. They're also being shown the way to the Lord. Immanuel Lutheran's presence in this community is paramount. I'm so grateful that it's here. It gives them a place to come, a place for recreation, a place for learning, a place to be fed spiritually and naturally, and it's just wonderful.
Living Grace is a New Start congregation in West Omaha, Nebraska. They haven't broken ground for a building yet, but thanks to social media tools, they are already reaching out to the local community and beyond. Living Grace is a sign of hope in West Omaha because of the generous support of ELCA members like you.
The Holy Spirit is inspiring the people of Living Grace to not just invite people to come to church, but to bring them to hear the good news of Jesus Christ that can transform their lives. I'd like to thank you, the people of the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America, for your continued prayer and financial support of new congregations like Living Grace. I'd also like to thank the people and leaders and staff and the Bishop of the Nebraska Synod for their ongoing partnership and their passion for mission in our great state. We'd also like to thank our parent congregation, Rejoice Lutheran Church in Omaha, Nebraska.
Strong leaders are an investment in the future of the Lutheran Church.
I'm Sanchita Kisku. The Kisku is a tribe name. I will be the first woman from Northern Evangelical Lutheran Church who is getting a Ph.D. degree in theology. So it will be really a good encouragement for the church leader.
Sanchita Kisku is a Ph.D. candidate at the Lutheran School of Theology at Chicago because of an ELCA International Leadership Development Scholarship.
Our language, our customs and traditions are different than the mainstream Hindu India. So it is very uncomfortable if an indigenous man is coming and teaching at the seminary rather than for me to teach my own people because I am familiar with the language.
Sanchita Kisku plans to return to India after graduation to teach and help share the gospel in her native land.
Today I'm standing here to say a thank you note to all my churches who have supported me for my education here at the United States. The South Central Synod of Wisconsin, which is our companion synod, and which is a unique part of the Northern Evangelical Lutheran Church in India.
just like in civilian life, there are a ton of people in the military who need to hear that the biblical, knowable Jesus shows up in our lives on a regular basis.
Through the Bureau of Federal Chaplaincies, the ELCA actively supports the work of Lutheran chaplains in the armed forces. Chaplain Corey Bjertness joins a strong tradition of ELCA Lutheran chaplains in service to their country.
More than half his job was dealing with people that just traveling through who had just got done with a firefight and who needed someone to counsel them. And that's the type of thing that you don't see and you don't hear about because it wasn't under his job description, but it's what he did.
One of my best friends was actually killed by a roadside bomb, and we weren't informed of any names right away. He pushed a lot of things for me, like being able to go to the ceremony for him because they weren't gonna let me, and he was like, she needs to be there, this was her friend. He was kind of like a mentor. He was always there for anybody, no matter what the situation was. If you needed somebody to talk to, you could go to Chaplain Bjertness.
Stories like these are made possible because of your generous mission support. Mission support is the portion of your offerings that your congregation shares with the Synod and church-wide expression. Mission support is the lifeblood of the work that God does through the ELCA, providing over 80% of the resources for our mission and ministries. Together, as the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America, we are doing God's work in ways that no individual or congregation or synod can do alone. Thank you for your generous and faithful giving. I invite you to share the story of what God is doing through the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America. More than that, encourage your congregation to grow in its mission support so that together, as members of the ELCA, we can be instruments of God's gracious presence in our world. God's work, our hands.